welcome to Movie Mayhem here at Spiritworks Cinema, where we watch all the movies. Today we're doing the first entry of our director series on Jean Rollin. You'll see here, he's going to help me out with this review. So, I decided to do Requiem for a Vampire first. It's probably one of his more well-known films. I think it's one of the more common ones you would have found at the video store in the old days, dubbed over or whatnot. And it's an interesting film to talk about. As far as review, I am going to do his adult stuff. I'm going to make a chunk review where I go through all those. I've got about... It's reported he did 20. I've only managed to find, I think, 13 or 14 of them. I'm sure they're out there somewhere, but, you know, those kind of are broken down. There's like 2 good ones, and the rest are kind of generic. You can tell he's walked off the set kind of thing. But we're going to go through all of his movies, and they're all very interesting for different reasons and a lot of different aspects. I think Rollin is, if you've happened to watch the new documentary and just any of his interviews, he's such a passionate man. And it comes through. Even though his movies, all of them are pretty much dirt cheap, he has a brilliant eye. And he has such conviction. It's kind of like if Ed Wood actually had any talent, he could have been more like Rollin. You know, just such an intense feeling for the work he's doing. Requiem for a Vampire is the story of 2 girls that go off to a party. Spoilers. So the exact plot of this film is 2 girls go to a New Year's party. They are dressed up like clowns. They kill a man. We don't know why, but they kill a man. And they have to escape. And the movie starts out with their escape when they're in a car being chased by other men who are shooting at them. Interesting New Year's party. And then a series of events happen. They encounter on those guys. They encounter on some guy. They have to steal food. And then they meet up with a group of vampires / ghouls. This was written in one night by, as admitted by Rollin himself. It was an idea he had, and he wrote it one night, and they filmed a movie. It's slow. When you're going into Rollin's films, don't expect it to be anywhere near a fast pace of film. Think of it more like each mini segment is a painting that you're going to watch. You're going to enjoy that painting. You're going to enjoy the beauty of that landscape, and then you're going to go to the next scene. And it's very much that way. What I think he has going for him in regards to, you know, common B filmmakers is that he's very intelligent in his framing and of beauty. So throughout this film, every shot to me is just very pretty. It's nice to look at. So sure, it's slow, but I like looking at that scene long enough that it's okay. Much like the commendations I would give Kubrick. Regardless if I like a Kubrick film, they're very beautifully shot. His slowness, the beauty of his shots makes the slowness of his pacing acceptable. And that's something I'd give Rollin, very much so. Now, obviously, he does it all on a much smaller budget, so you can't go into his type of film nitpicking at all. You got 2 very pretty little ladies running around in clown outfits, then other costumes, then back to their clown outfits. For whatever reason, they encounter an aging vampire who's come to the end of his vampire life. He can no longer keep going on. So his coven of ghouls, I guess as we'll call them, being not quite vampires, but they're wannabe vampires and or slaves. The men are what I'm guessing some kind of like slave to them. They never explain, but we know they haven't changed towards being a vampire. Of course it's got a lot of blatant sexuality in it, little S&M bondage scenes going on, but it's cool and it works in that exploitation fashion. So the vampire wants to find an heir, and he can only get a true vampiric heir if the girl's a virgin. And so the ghouls find that out. They capture these girls, and they're trapped. They can't leave the they can't leave the castle they're in. Again, another thing Rollin's good at is finding locations that contribute to the story, that are really awesome looking without the use of effects or budget. Perfect. And the castle looks absolutely fantastic. So, for whatever reason that I can't figure out, because he's been bitten, they can't escape the castle. They keep just running and looping back to it. So they're stuck there. And they have to remain virgins. One of the girls goes off and bangs some dude, so she's not a virgin. And then he finds out, and then she runs off, and people chase her. But at the end of the film, the one girl who kind of... At first I thought she was going to, delve into being a vampire, but of course she did not. She maintained her virginity, but she wants to save her friend. They end up trying to escape from the ghouls with the main vampire, who in turn comes to a realization, and that's why the title Requiem exists. He's sick of this life, and he doesn't want to give that to anyone else. And near the end of the film, he makes this grand decision to basically end himself and end the vampiric line. Now, it's kind of neat, actually. When I'm saying this, if you think about the overall story, it's a kind of a unique story, especially at that. But when the time this film was made, there was nothing like that, not even close. And it's very light on dialogue, as most Rollin films are. And, it can or can't work for you. The common complaint I see with Rollin films is like, what the hell is happening? You really do have to big picture his movies, because this movie makes no sense until you kind of take all of it in and go, oh, I get it, okay. At the same point, there is a lot of like, what? And there's continuity problems, and a lot of it has to do with the low budget. They can't go back and do reshoots. They can't go back and do a lot of stuff, and you're stuck with what happens. I know one of his later films, the girl ended up pregnant through the filming. So what do, right? So through the movie, she's changing. There's nothing you could do. Some scenes were shot before, some were shot earlier. You're kind of stuck there. These aren't gore films. They're not. They are, they're called erotic horror and other kinds of names for them. But honestly, I really feel he's kind of in his own genre. Similar to Franco's horror sex films, but less porny, if you want to say that. I think Rollin just had a much better eye for the pure beauty of what he was showing. And they're a little sleazy, right? A little sleazy. Not full-on Mattei or Franco style sleaze, but just a little bit, with enough taste and elegance that it comes off more artsy. I think this is a very good introduction to Rollin's work. If you're going to start out trying to see what he's got. Redemption has a ton of his stuff on Blu-ray. Actually, I think they're the only company that releases anything on Blu-ray. I don't know what's going on with that. Kino distributes them. They were supposed to release more. I know Killing Car in Bangkok was supposed to come out last year. Nothing. They haven't said anything on their Facebook page. I've emailed them. I have no idea what's going on. But outside of his adult stuff, they have almost everything out on Blu-ray. There's a few exceptions. His later movies are only on DVD. And of course, Mask of Medusa is not released anywhere outside of that 150 DVD copies that good luck finding that. I've never even seen a real one anywhere, or seen the option to buy it for even an exorbitant price anywhere. So who knows? I bootlegged it because I wanted to see the movie. But this is it's a cool film. There's some good extras, some nice interviews with Jean and some of the other cast from the film, and everybody has such a loving opinion of him. He just seems like he'd be one of the coolest guys to have worked with, even if the stuff isn't amazing, Especially like listening to stuff like Brigitte Lahaie talk about him. She admires the man for who he is, and it's so interesting when you hear somebody talk about a director in that way that isn't a Spielberg. He's not a renowned director, honestly. He was never recognized much in France, his own home country. He got a cult following in America, and that's really all he ever achieved. But his conviction and passion led him to be more than that. So that's Requiem for a Vampire. I'm gonna go through and do all of his films, and they'll be spoiler filled as much as you can spoil a Rollin film. So it doesn't really matter. Watch them anyway. I think they're cool. Let me know your favorite Rollin, and we'll see you here next time on Movie Mayhem.